So here we are on the 8th turn of Baton Rouge. It's 2 hours since this fog has lifted. That's the 4th turn since the fog has lifted, and all the units you can see here are practically all of the units that there are on the board in the game, except there's a regiment here and a supply wagon here, and then all the way over here we have the partisan rangers who have been disrupted for at least one whole turn, so about an hour, after disastrously trying to charge some cannons way back then, and they just haven't been able to be brought into the action yet. You can see the development is very interesting. Basically the Federals have been forced right back to the brink of their breastworks here. The Confederates have managed to join their two branches, so they had one branch coming here, or one division coming here, one division coming here. They were separated for a while by the penitentiary walls here. Now they have managed to link up, and one brigade of Clark's division from this side has scooted around. Essentially what they did was the Federals had a strong position here with artillery here, and they were bringing artillery over here. This is the valley of this brook, and the units here, they scooted around here, out of line of sight of the artillery there. They assaulted some Federal battalions here, pushed them back, and then they reached fatigue level, which meant they weren't likely to do any more movement or assault actions that turn, and then the turn abruptly ended. So the next turn they started with renewed vigour and pushed around here. That's Smith's brigade along with Shields' detachment with a section of artillery here, and they charged over the breastworks and have destroyed or routed the well, in this game that they knocked out the SPs of the 4 sections of artillery here. So it was a brilliant achievement by Smith's brigade, Shields' detachment, and Clark, the division commander, coming in with them there. They are somewhat cut off from the rest of their group, but the hope is that this will cause these to fall back, and then all of this lot can surge in. Right, I will zoom in on that in a minute. I'd just like to say one more thing, which was a very interesting development I had in the turn or so that I've played without filming, was as you can see there's 3 Federal gunboats in the water. There were 5. The reason being that a Confederate artillery section came up to here, fired on one of them, and on a 2 to 5, on a 2d6, it does 1 SP of damage to one of the boats, and these boats all have only 1 strength point anyway. The only one with more is the Essex, the ironclad. So it promptly sank 1 boat. Another boat came into, and the return fire against it was to no avail. Another boat came in to try and disrupt it, destroy it, whatever, and was promptly sank also by the cannon, and then it quickly scooted away before some return fire knocked out one of the strength points. But it's kind of an interesting quirk in the rules that any artillery section is worth 1 point on the vessel versus vessel naval fire table if they're coastal firing from shore to river. And so it's actually an advantage that I think it gives a better chance of taking an SP, a ship SP out than knocking an infantry SP out. So there you go. I was surprised. I had thought that the land-based artillery. Okay, excuse that. I lost contact there because occasionally my phone, it's a Chinese phone, it has an epileptic fit and it goes haywire. So we had a cutout there. Anyway, no matter. So that's the story of the land to water battle so far. The boat SPs at the strength points are not very effective at firing to land unless the people, I imagine, are on the shoreline. If they're in cover of buildings and so forth, it's going to be quite hard to be very effective against them. And there was thoughts that the boats could fire against the Confederates moving up here, but they Shield originally brought his cannon up and he was going to unlimber it so as to provide covering of fire against the boats, but then they managed to get enough. I think they had 4 activations in a row, and which was remarkable, seeing as Smith doesn't have the best. He doesn't have an activation bonus. Clark spent some commander points on his activations, and on Shields too. I think, yes, and so Shields actually managed to run up here with his artillery and unlimber it. This one though, the Tennessee Battalion is fatigued, so that will not be effective. That will not be moving or assaulting anymore this turn. Okay, let's move in a bit closer to see a bit of a better look at what's going on. So, abandoned guns. That's Williams, the brigadier, the Union commander. Just to illustrate here, these fellows are all. I've moved the modified line markers to underneath so that we can see who's who and in which direction they're facing. So these guys are all in modified line, essentially on the streets. No one's actually in the blocks themselves. Yeah. So what can I say about this? I don't know. It's you can see that it's just the activation system makes it a struggle to coordinate your units. So you will move one brigade or regiment, and you want another brigade or regiment to fall into place next to him, but the enemy may already have manoeuvred and negated that manoeuvre in the meantime. So it makes a very interesting play, but I find it means it's difficult to coordinate a defensive line on the move, which I mean, this is a fallback defense that the Union are trying to organize, and they did quite well leaving a unit, shuttling a unit back for a while, but you can see that the pressure's on now. The last action effectively we had, these fellows moved in. There was some reply back, but from the Unions, but we had a battalion rout here. He's been rallied, and then activations went back to the Confederates, and Allen's guys, who are all very fresh, rushed in here to pressure these guys. So if these guys fall back, they will take fire as they fall back. So I find in this game, if you make a bold attack, you are not going to say you have good chances of succeeding, but it can be effective because the opponent can't just run away without taking defensive or withdrawal fire from you. And so essentially, if you move up to attack, you're trading shots or blows with the enemy. They don't have much choice once you've moved up to attack them, or else they risk disrupting or routing as they withdraw. Is there anything else interesting that I can say about the situation? I don't know, but essentially we're on to, it's a federal activation. Where are we? It's the first activation. I'll use these markers to indicate how many out of the 4 consecutive activations we are on. And it's I'm very surprised with this game because it's not even 10 o'clock out of a game that lasts until 7 o'clock in the evening. And the Federals are right back here. We don't need any of the rest of the board. So all the actions are all down here now. Okay, so I think I'll get myself back into the game off camera and then record something when something I think particularly interesting happens. Well, that was effective. We've had 3 rounds of fire from Alan's brigade. It has units here, here, and here. These ones are now disrupted. And there's an artillery section in that hex. We've been firing against Keith's regiment, and then Dudley, the remnants of Dudley's, or the last battalion of Dudley's section was here. The 1st battalion has been wiped out. More or less ineffective fire for 3 rounds here, except for disruptions. Although it's interesting to note that the Confederates are firing with muskets. So they get at this close range, they get a strength point multiplier of 2. The Federals here in Keith's, I don't know if this will focus well, in Keith's regiment have the 21st Indiana have breech loading carbines. They have a fearsome ×4 multiplier. It's not too bad in the congested confines of the streets, although these fellows could actually move out of modified line because they could consider themselves, in fact they are already straddling this area, but they haven't had a chance to yet. That would be a formation change action for which they would take defensive fire. These fellows only have rifled, normal rifles, so at this range on par with the muskets. Now the interesting thing was the unit here was effectively modified line here, shot down through the street. The Confederate artillery used rapid fire, which you can do with canister. It means you automatically lose an ammunition point, and artillery have 3 canister and 3 bombardment ammunition points until they can use until they have to resupply, so that they're down to 1 ammunition point left. There is a wagon not so far away, up here. So there's the resupply wagon. It's not too far away, so they're quite confident that they can resupply in a timely fashion. It proved effective because they disrupted Dudley's battalion, and then no effect back on them. In the second fire they routed it. It fled through here, disrupting one of Cahill's battalions, who's had to move back. And because they lost 2 SPs, there was a leader loss roll, and Dudley has been wounded, so he's off the board. His unit's under Cahill at the moment, and Dudley's going to be replaced by a whole new leader. So this was Dudley. activation range is going to be replaced by Whitmore. Activation range of 2. No, I think that's badly out of focus. This doesn't have a self-focus. Anyway, so that will be a replacement, and you can see it's brought a hole into the Confederate line, disrupted their line, second, last offensive line here. So we're now going to roll for the last activation row for the Confederates. Possible activation. We're going to roll for Thompson to hopefully rush forward and fill this space. These guns are abandoned. I just don't have enough markers, abandoned marker guns to mark that. Okay, so Thompson's +1 activation is essentially he needs to roll a 7 or more. On these 2 dice, he rolls a 3, so it's over to the Federals. Okay, we'll see what they do. Let me think. Well, I just rolled on the Federal roll an end of turn boxcars. Amazing. Thompson moved his men forwards, and there's a hole here. He moved one regiment here, one here, and one here. He's got another in block mode here. And there was a gap. He thought, right, I'll run in. Cahill thought, great. Turned his men around, fired on him with massive firepower. Little effect. Thompson shrugged off a morale check. Activation went over to the Confederates, so Confederate try. So Allen thought, right, I must help. Thompson's going in. This could be the chance. Allen moves his folks. This is Allen's and this is Allen's, and then the turn ended. This is the situation. Thompson has breached the breastworks here. He's supported by Allen. Smith under Clark has breached the breastworks here, supported by shields. The Federals are looking in a terrible shape. Cahill's units are extremely strong, untouched. There's a routed bean and a wounded and a replacement for the wounded bean there. These 2 units disrupted. Now they're going to be cut off. Nickerson has a routed unit here. He's obviously got to try and fall back, but the Confederates did manage to bring up some artillery under this fellow, and you can see there's some more artillery here. They haven't managed to unlimber them yet. So it's extremely exciting. Everything's getting congested, and Helms all the way over here did nothing for those last 3/4 of an hour. Breckinridge is back there. He's going to be delighted, I expect. He's sitting on 3 sections of limbered cavalry there waiting to get into action. And I need to check the line of sight rules again. I don't think that the gunboats, if they're on the water here, will be able to see units that are beyond the crest line of this upper level. So I think all this action is going to go on out of line of sight of the gunboats. They can always use indirect fire, which I think will be their job as soon as they get a chance to go. Because the Union folks are otherwise too busy, are they not? Oh, one thing I never mentioned before. Clark made a heroic run out of here earlier to his routed unit there, so he can rally it. Hasn't had a chance to yet, but obviously he's going to bring it back into the action. So I'm going to stop there for now. We are just about to start the 10 o'clock turn. We had a sudden end of turn on a surprise roll the last turn, and the game is proving very exciting at the moment. As you can see, the Confederates are getting squashed right back into their breastworks surrounding their arsenal. They've completely lost control of Baton Rouge itself, so the Confederates could stop here and be satisfied with half the battle won. The rest of the battle now is to remove the Federals from their arsenal. so that the Confederates can claim complete control of the area. The Federals are they're in an even worse situation than it might look from here, in that Keith's regiment here, these two battalions, are disordered, and they're in danger of being surrounded, so they need to withdraw, which they will obviously incur fire from, to come back to support their fellows. Nickerson here has a battalion to rally. Dudley is wounded. We're waiting for him to promote Whitmore, someone to promote Whitmore, so Whitmore can take control of Dudley's battalion, which are routed under here. So we've got two routes to rally, another route to rally here. These are all activations which have to be done. While you're doing that, your units are not firing. What else we got? Williams is on his own here. He needs to move. I mean, he's threatened. The brigadier, overall commander of the Federals, is threatened by the attack here. If he's alone in a hex and the Confederate moves in, he's captured. Then the Federals have got artillery here. Let me zoom in. Picture. Okay. Federals have artillery here, which have yet to unlimber. That's an action. It would be another action to change facing, and they may have to do that quickly. Now the turn is ended. These fellows have regained their stamina or impetus, whatever. They can start moving again. So that artillery might unlimber and then find itself outflanked. What I'm finding in the game is that the Confederates, because the leaders, all but one of them, have a +1 on their activation roll, the Confederates have the initiative nearly all the time. They can push, and the Federals are just reacting to them. Now that's okay if you have a standing line of defence, but in this action the Confederates have been have a full back defence all the way, and so they just have not been able to organise it properly. The Federals keep pushing them through, retaining the initiative. We're going to roll who gets the first activation this turn. It's a 5 for the Confederates. Okay, so the Confederates get the first activation. I hadn't really think about what to do for them, because it's the Federals that need more of a thought at the moment. These ones are exhausted. Oh yes, and last turn I had to check the line of sight rules, because I had movement through the valley, as it were, here, which I judged, without checking the rules, that this artillery could not affect. The section there could actually have fired at these units as they came through there, so I did some retroactive fire to see what would have happened, and we just lost a unit and they got disordered there, had to stop. Shield's attachment managed to make it through unscathed, and so did Regiment Clark's is with there. So that didn't really affect what had happened. So remedied that quite quickly. But still, what to do? Okay, so do they come around and outflank? Or start outflanking? I think the crucial moment is here, because as you can see, Thompson's got himself outflanked. Well, he dived into the outflank, which is the kind of crazy, stupid move I make, but who knows? Maybe it will pull off. There's this artillery is unlimbered, so again the Confederates are risking somewhat, banking on their initiative ability to fling the artillery forward, unlimber it before this unit here has a chance to swing around and reply to it. Oh look, there's artillery underneath there. Okay, so the Federals can fire straight away at that. here in this hex we have, I'm breaking one of the rules that Berg has, is that all units in a hex have to face the same way. And I can't remember how big the hex are, 75 meters, 75 feet or something. It's a big difference, isn't it? But anyway, I don't see why the artillery and, say, two artillery sections have to face the same way, or a line of infantry on the artillery do. It might make it tidier and cause less confusion, and I could be wrong according to standard infantry tactics and doctrine, but if you're going to be outflanked, surely you would swing at least one unit round, keep the other facing the other way. So, do you see what I'm saying? Otherwise, if two units are coming at you, there's no way you can stop from being outflanked. If you are two units in a hex, you need to split your line of sight. So I've allowed that. Okay, so what we're going to do, the question is really, should these assaults, now the Confederate regiments are generally only as big as or smaller than a Federal battalion, so assaults not such a great option for them unless they maybe did a combined assault. How many units do we have in this hex? We've got one modified line of arrow depletion. Okay. I think they're just going to fire. We're going to have a fire action. But you can have a combined assault, so two brigades can assault together, but you can't have combined brigade fire actions. So the question now is, which of these two brigades does the fire? Or, better yet, we fling out. Okay, they're going to unlimber that. So Prentice's A battery has unlimbered under fire, no doubt. And we go to the next activation. So that was one Confederate activation. So Prentice there with Thompson, so Thompson's going to go for the activation, he gets a +1. Oh, and all the leaders get their bonuses back, so but Breckinridge is too far away to help any of his leaders. He didn't have time to move out in the last turn, so that's going to mean that he needs to move as well as Williams. So, where's Ruggles? Ruggles could have lent one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yes. So Ruggles is going to lend a point. There's only point. So Thompson will get +2 on his activation roll. He rolls a 6, that goes to 8. Great. So he got it. Right, let's see. Apprentice, Napoleon's 2 strength points. Napoleon guns, that's ×9. Canister fire at point blank range. It's only artillery fire, so we go shift down 1. He's firing over the breastwork, so shift down another 1. Okay. And he rolls a 10. No effect. Now, Massachusetts can fire back. Now this is an interesting point. Is he firing over the breastworks? This is where you need the wall advantage. Actually, out of there. I think we can assume that he has the benefit of the breastworks and not the detriment. So, he did clean himself up there quite quickly. Okay, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I think the Union's going to need all the help they can get at the moment. Although it could swing quickly the other way. You never know. So the 4th Massachusetts section there, howitzers. Okay, so how many was that? That was 2 howitzers. Canister fire. Times 10. Oh my goodness, that's 20. Shift down 1. So we get a 5. Okay, that's ammo reduction on canister. So what did I say they were? They were in 4th Massachusetts, section A. Okay. And, oh, by the way, the guns under there ran out of canister. You rolled a 5. And that's 2 strength points lost and a 4 on the, and I think that's gone. That artillery is no more. I'm not sure if it's the artillery strength points or the gun crews. Okay, so that's canister 5, so it's the crews that have gone. So let's put this on to indicate abandoned guns. Okay, continuing with Thompson's fire. 39th Mississippi, damage. 35th, 39th Mississippi. Thompson's, don't have them listed. Oh no, sorry, he's Allen's. Bah! Okay. He's not going to get to fire. Not going well. Battlefield chaos. Oh dear. He's Thompson. He's Allen. Yeah, so we've got. I said that was something that I could have attached it to Allen at that point, but no matter. Thompson, Allen, Thompson, Allen, Thompson, Allen. So we have the 5th Kentucky with European rifles. That must be the 3rd Kentucky, I'm assuming. Okay, 5 European rifles, 2, that's Albanian. Thompson's first activation was change formation, so let's say these guys change formation into regular line. I'm going to get 5 on as they do that. I'm going back, I'm allowed to do that. It's so okay. These change formation there. And these come out of block mode, which is a formation change rather than a movement action. Come out so put them there. No, I'm going to put them there. And then you get bombarded by the boats. Okay, so what was I saying? Yes, he's going to get 5 upon by these guys. So that's 14. I think they've gone down 1. That's 12. And then these so that's 8, and so that's 14. 6 small arms. Oh, there goes my doorbell. Hang on a minute. Okay, so Thompson's unit there, Kentucky, took a hit and they survived the morale check, but because the 35th Alabama was completely decimated, Thompson's whole brigade is 4 strength points away from becoming combat ineffective, which will incur penalties on activation and morale checks. So he's going to have to be careful. His folks will have to withdraw out of the line as soon as this as soon as they can be relieved. Okay, so Thompson also has, and this fellow, yeah, so he could be in line rather than the street. And then there's Callum. And himself. And these disrupted fellows will fire back. One on strength 8. And 1 for disruption. Helmet, Keith, have they taken damage? Yes, they did most of us. Okay, so back to this. Getting interrupted by the phone, the door. Never mind. Okay. Yes, so this fellow has taken some damage. He's got 7 points. Disrupted, he's got 1 in the street. Okay. And he rolls a 6, which is ineffective. Okay, so now we're back to that was me cheating, and now we're back to Thompson's activation, which was a fire action there, yes. And there will be a fire activation here. So Kentucky has taken Kentucky has taken 2 straight points of damage now. He's firing on 6. 11. That's a morale check, but survives the morale check. He gets the fire back. 8. Okay, I'm going to resolve all this and come back with something more interesting happening. Okay, well, Alan managed to route this unit back from here. The Federals with their activation unlimbered these cannon, and then Alan got another activation. He moved this fellow up to here. Thompson was just going for an activation, and we rolled an end of turn roll on Snake Eyes on 2d6. That only happens if each side has had at least 1 action. So it's now 10:45, and you roll for possible route movement. So one of Dudley's units there routed over to the beach, and so the Federals are getting cut up pretty good, and I think that was 45 minutes of just a little bit of action here. So I think what we can surmise is that your units are starting to suffer from exhaustion and a bit of a shock from the ferocity of the advance so far. But the Confederates are tired, and the Unions are shocked. Let's say that. So I'm going to pack up for now for another session, another day, and see you then. Just a quick film scene. So see, here's Thompson's unit. That was the artillery. There's Alan's unit. There's Thompson. He's in Ruggles division. Alan's in Ruggles division. There's a Thompson fellow. There's another Alan. All the way over here we have Helm's folks. Helm's in Clark's division. The other part of Clark's division is Smith. There's Clark himself. He's under Breckinridge's command. Breckinridge is, where is he? He's back there on a stack of 3 artillery sections. Still Limburg, waiting to get into action. Back up here we have Ruggles on his own, waiting to catch up with his fellows. There's his supply wagon. Here's Clark, who's run out trying to encourage these men back into the fight. Here's the Federal ships that are left. The numbers on the sides are the forms of artillery and their strength points. Here's this guy waiting for promotion. And here's the Federal morass. I put these markers so I could distinguish who's the brigade leader at a glance, that big blob of Tipex. So, disordered, routed. There's, that's just an artilleryman underneath Cahill. These are Cahill's fellows, stemming off Confederates there. These fellows there, it's artillery Roberts, and the artillery trying to stem the Confederates here. They're gonna, I guess this battalion and maybe the ships will defend this flank. And then who else do we have left? There's Nicholson with a fellow battalion there, and that's Keith, I think, with disordered battalion there. So, without we lose focus. See you next time. Oh, that's how you get back in focus. Ah, discover a new thing every day. Did I find that? Oh, I don't know.